We're darn close enough.
All right. Good evening and welcome to the City of Keystone Heights. This is our council meeting for the Planning and Zoning Workshop, October 15th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. We already previously had a Planning and Zoning meeting, so we already did our pledge and our prayer, and we're going to start off with our roll call.
And I'll just go through, Mayor, I'll go ahead and go through planning and zoning members first, and I'll go through city council. Ms. Mullins?
Here.
Dr. Zeser?
Here.
And Dr. Robbins?
Here.
And Mr. Gay and Mr. Hart are not present, planning and zoning. And Councilman Welch?
Here.
And Mayor Rodenroth?
Here.
And Vice Mayor Kussler, Councilman Lewandowski, and Councilman Knight are currently not present.
Okay, thank you. Do I need to ask for comments from the crowd?
You don't have to because it's a workshop,
Okay.
and when no indication from those present, they wouldn't make any public comments.
Okay, new business. Ms. Janice Fleet, you have a presentation for us and a variety of items to share. I'm going to give the floor to you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Mayor. And this is a workshop, so we have questions or comments in between. Please interrupt, or we can move on. Okay, so I'm just going to go quickly through the PowerPoint presentation to kind of schedule where we're at. So next slide. Okay, as you know, which we've discussed, I think both the council and planning and zoning, we're required by the state to do an evaluation appraisal of our comprehensive plan and make an update. We told the state that's something we want to do because our comp plan has not been updated since 2011. And so we are moving, we sent the state, we said we want to update our comprehensive plan. So that keeps us in compliance with the first checkbox, which is telling them what you want to do.
Is there a timeline requirement between what is and what they want us to do? In other words, how many years between?
It's 5 to 7.
5 to 7 things.
Yes, usually. They have the, now it's Florida Commons has a list on their website of every community, and this all 411 you said, in the state, and they have a schedule of when you have to do your,
It's supposed to be every 7 years.
yes.
I understand.
And basically you have to tell them you either are fine, we're happy, or we want to update it. We made the decision,
Okay.
the city did, that we wanted to update it. We felt it was important, and we sent a letter to the state back in May. And once we sent that letter, they said,
You get a year.
You get a year.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at. And
That was the next question was, is it required every 5 to 7 that we do this?
It's-
And
yes.
it sounds like
You
yes.
have to at least review it.
Yes,
and
sir.
You can confirm that you're happy with the way it is, or you can make changes.
Thank you.
exactly, yeah, you're not required to go through the update, but you are required to say if you want to do the update or not. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're supposed to think about it. I don't know what happened in the last cycle, but it doesn't matter. None of us can.
Water under the bridge.
It's
Yeah,
Yeah, none of us were here
It
then.
actually was reviewed and they
Oh, it was?
confirmed.
Okay. But,
That it can
okay.
continue if you opt out.
Right.
This is a
You don't opt
question.
out, you just say that there's nothing we want to
There's
change.
nothing-
So
you wanna do.
you continue with, in this case, it would be the 2011.
Exactly.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so from the last PowerPoint presentation I did a while ago talking about this, I talked about the need to reorganize it, to get rid of the comprehensive plan is just your goals, objectives, and policies. It is not all your data and analysis. And the last comprehensive plan, it looked like it was kind of all mixed in, as well as the order was kind of confusing. And what I mean confused for me as a planner, because we kind of have most of the comprehensive plans kind of follow a certain order. And yours did not for
No,
some
it didn't
reason.
at all. It was just.
So anyways, so the first thing we did, which you got I think a copy back in August, where we kind of reorganized it, got rid of not get rid of it, the analysis still, we have it, but we don't, that's not anything that gets adopted. We have the analysis, but it's out of the comprehensive plan, and we did it in the order that the vast majority of comprehensive plans are.
May I ask
Yes,
another
sure.
question? Is there a document like an outline or something such as that you can share with us so that we see that order
Well,
that makes sense to you?
That's the order we redid it as. And that, if you pulled up Clay counties, if you pulled up Great Coves, you pulled up
do we have a table of contents
master
so
outline.
that we can see that outline?
We can do that when I
Thank
get
you.
to the elements, but we can do that. We
Thank
can
you.
give you a table of contents,
Thank
yes.
you.
So that organization, okay. So what we want to do, and that was in the color coding that I did for your, for the meeting tonight, and we're not going over it tonight. I don't want you to think we are. We're not going page by page.
No, we're ordering things today.
Right, we're figuring out where we gotta go
That's
and
what
how
I
we're gonna
like.
move forward. Yes. So the things that I looked at is, and it was like, I looked at it from my eye, and this is just my eye, know what I've learned in working with for the past years, almost year, I guess it is, working with Keystone, as well as in other communities I work with in Northeast Florida, and other things that changed. I kind of came up with things that I felt, and that was a color that are in multiple elements that don't need to be in it. Now that's up to you. You can keep whatever. You don't have to touch it. We can go through this whole process, and you say we love the comp plan that was done in 2011, and we're not changing it. But if we want to, we can. Yes, ma'am.
So I apologize for
No,
that.
that's- it's a workshop.
This is how I listen and how I learn.
That's fine.
So I can sort of translate what you just said with the color coding and the reorganization is it's a starting point.
Yes, this
Okay.
is a starting point. So what I did as your, and I'm like your vehicle. I'm your sounding board. You are going to tell me what you want generally, and I'm going to do the nuts and bolts so that it can get through the process. You know, you might say, I think we need to look at policy, blah, 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 and, or in this, we can discuss that, but, and I've done this in a lot of different communities, the majority of the policies are probably not gonna change. The vast majority of them are gonna pretty much stay. It's usually a few that we'll probably spend a lot of time on and tweaking. So don't feel that every policy needs to be addressed. So what I did is we said it looked like you had some policies that were in multiple elements that you don't need to have them. So those were the yellows. Then there are ones that were more restrictive that to me look like that's things that need to be in your land development regulation, your zoning code.
The subordinate document that will sit
Right,
underneath.
yeah,
the
you have your
comprehensive
comprehensive plan, and then which we have to do now, and then a year later,
It
we're
will be our
supposed to
chapter
update.
19 in our community law.
Right, our land development code, which that's another problem. That was not done the last time in 2011, so we have had conflict between the two documents. But we're moving forward, so we know that we're not going to throw anybody on the bus, but happened in the past, we're moving forward. Okay, so the reason that you can decide, again, do we want to keep those in or not? Because every time there is a text amendment in your comprehensive plan, then it has to go to the state for review. If it's a land development regulation, you as a planning and zoning board recommends it to the council, you adopt it with an ordinance, and it's done, unless there are any challenges in court. So you do not have to get that reviewed. When I get a little bit later, I'll say why that's going to be even more interesting moving forward.
To summarize a different way, the more you put in the land development code, which is codified,
Right, yeah, it's rules.
and it's there, you don't have to go to the state.
You control it.
But
Right.
it
But
must
the
be
one that's in the
appropriate.
comp plan,
But it must be appropriate.
Yes, and it must be, and it's got to implement the comprehensive plan, but as I always say, the comprehensive plan is like the big umbrella, and
Yeah.
under it are your zoning codes, your landscape codes, your tree mitigation, all those.
So we would have that expectation, the level of detail would be much greater in that subordinate document that you were just talking
Right,
about.
and-
And we don't have to go to the state for review.
Exactly,
Yeah, that's
But-
not why you do it the way you do it.
Right, that was
So,
my,
right,
Janice started out by saying your comprehensive plan is your goals, policies, and objectives. They're your vision. So they're the city's vision on how do we want to see growth. So in certain areas of when you look at the comprehensive plan map, there's a presumption that growth is happening. That's the data that Janice was talking about. So data on what type of growth are we anticipating? And based on that anticipated growth, where do we want to see it go? Big picture, that's your vision. So I tell people from a legal perspective, your comp plan is like the Constitution. We understand we have a Constitution, right? We also have a state constitution in Florida that tells us broadly how we want to govern ourselves. From the Constitution, we also have statutes. Statutes are the specific rules. Think of your statutes and your development regulations are the same thing. So your Constitution's your comp plan. Your statutes are your land development regulations. In the same way, a statute cannot be unconstitutional, a land development regulation has to conform to the constitution. So it's just your LDRs, your land development regulations, are more detailed rules when your comp plan is your vision.
Okay, I do have another question. And I heard the word your vision, the planning and zoning board, the city council. We have other stakeholders in our city. I'm sure before we came aboard that there were meetings in which people were invited and discussions of what the citizens of the city of Keystone Heights would like to see going forward. Keystone Heights would like to see going forward. Is this true? Because
That's true.
Yes.
And that's why this is a public process. That's why you're going to invite public input.
Okay,
But if
so
you're asking
now
if
is
we had a
the,
meeting, we did not. There was no, we need your input. There was none of that.
okay.
So what I have done, I've lived here for several years, is I have spent some time talking to the people that I come across at various walks of life, chapters in their development, if you will. And what is by and large the overwhelming majority of what the folks we have here is, the idyllic age of Keystone Heights was 1980. Now, we can't stay in 1980. We need to progress forward. There are other things that are coming down the pike that we need to plan for. So we have to take in mind that they would like us to remain rural. They would like us to remain, for a certain segment of them, isolationist, and to even go so much further as saying we don't want anyone else new. Now we can't do that.
Yeah.
We can't do that. And if I'm stepping on your toes, I'm sorry. We can't do that. We have
But
to
I would
progress
also
forward.
say that the process that you just described is quite an informal one and potentially wrought with extraordinary bias because we tend to walk up to people who we're comfortable walking up to speak with. So those may be the folks, all of whom have an agreement, maybe a
Yes and
population.
no.
It's not necessarily random. So
It is random when you, now everyone hates this, but I do pay attention to the Keystone Heights and surrounding areas word of mouth. And there's an awful lot of garbage
So
coming
that
out
in
there.
itself is a huge filter
is.
because I don't, yeah, it is
Yeah.
self-selecting.
No, I understand, I
Yeah.
understand the pushback.
This is fun.
I understand the pushback. The idea I'm trying to convey was the people, the large majority of the people,
With whom you spoke.
these constituents, their constituents, is they would like us to stay small, isolated, and rural. Now, we can't do that. We have to figure out a way to plan ourselves forward to integrate ourselves in the surrounding community, municipalities, in this case, Clay County, and a little further to our south, that's
Putnam, Alachua.
so we need to figure out how to integrate ourselves that way, and then we have some other plan usage with the airport that will impact our it's our city, so I call it small town because this is the smallest town I've ever lived in. So that's where we are at. I put forth, and I spoke to you about it, the idea that we would like to remain small, and I know from they're not here, other members that they would like us to remain rural, and they would like us to remain a resort-style-esque community. We can successfully compromise all of that through what we're doing here with our work.
And let me just say, the comprehensive plan is not all encompassing.
Yeah.
It is a vision for your growth of your town, or no growth, whatever you want.
I call it the 10,000-foot view.
Yeah, no, because there are other things such as a strategic plan and other policies you have within the town. This is a state mandated plan that's been required since 1985, and it's general. It's changed a bunch, but it's basically the way it was originally acted. That you need to have these certain elements. They've added a few. They take a look out. You can have optional elements, and you have to have an adopted map. And that was a big when they did it back in '85. That was a big thing because they had local governments had comprehensive plan, but they did not require them to be implemented. I.e., the old plans sit on the shelf as a joke, as well as did not have a map. And they also said in that 1985 Act that your land development regulations need to be reviewed and be brought into compliance within a year. So there was meat to the land development. Now, I can tell you that since that 85 Act, there's been a lot of ebbs and flows, and some of us feel planners that it has been is less restrictive now. But the idea of a comprehensive plan in the state of Florida has been since that long. And so therefore, it's not all encompassing, but it is a goal, and we've done things to make it more, as Rich said, it's a vision of what you want, how you want your candidate. And we're not starting from square zero. We don't want to throw everything that's in our current comprehensive plan out. We just want to tweak it to get where we need to go. And like I said, I just went through it with Penny Farms. And
My question was stakeholders. My question was not the timing of the comp plan, the use of the comp plan, the importance of the comp plan, the need for the comp. That's not my question. My question is who's been informing the update or the changes?
Well, it has been on council, P&Z agenda. It's, I think, Bo, you sent out text or something, or it's on the website. It is a
The
public
advertisements on the board.
yes, it's a public process. Do we go and bring this to every group?
Like go to the churches or
No,
go.
that's not what the way that it works is all our meetings are public. We have meetings along the way that people can even, like Joe's here tonight, if you have something to say, if you want to listen to him. But at the end of the day, when we get it done, ready to get adopted, you will have a public meeting. And if 100 people show up, they all get their 3 minutes to say what they want. And they can do the same at the council meeting, things like that. So that is it is a required public process. It's in the statute. Whatever locally you want to do to talk to other people, to have other people input, that's up to you. You are
So that's not outside of the Sunshine Law, because that will be influencing actions within the process.
As long as you
That's what
don't.
the Sunshine Law says.
You can't talk to each other.
Yeah,
It's
well, you
Talk
don't
to
have a
the
meeting
public.
without letting.
Members of
Okay.
the same board
Okay, thank
cannot
you.
discuss or communicate outside of a publicly noticed meeting.
And you'll probably
Yeah.
have to repeat that to me 1,000 times, because I tend to.
You can have a party with all of your friends from Keystone Heights and discuss this very thing, as long as none of us are in that party.
Yeah.
That's the way it was explained to me.
That's a great explanation.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
could restate, just like you do, I need to
Yeah,
restate,
it
make sure I'm
helps
hearing
me.
this.
Yeah.
What you're saying is the process is open to the public, but we don't go out with a formal survey. We don't go
We didn't go
door
knock
to
on
door
doors.
No.
none
and
of
try
that.
to drag something
we
on
try to,
them.
we put it on social media,
Yeah.
we
If
put
they
it on our
have a-
website.
It's like church, you're invited to
exactly.
You're
come.
welcome to come.
It's like the
but you-
election, we go around
Right.
and,
It's a little
and I
different.
did the same kind of thing you did, John, with just listening to people.
Just listen, yeah.
What's important to you, that
I
kind
mean-
of thing. And people didn't have an opinion about something or had nothing to offer, fine, thank you,
But-
appreciate your time, please, vote for Dave. And that was about it. Let's see, what were you talking about?
I was gonna say,
Oh.
there are other communities, like I think Clay County, St. John's probably did it because where they will have surveys, because it is a big community, or they have
The bigger
meeting
communities employ consultants, and the
Right.
consultants hold town hall meetings and they.
Yeah, they'll, like a Lawrence, like Jacksonville will have 6 meetings because it's a big city, not everybody's gonna come down and attend. You have the smaller cities, towns, etc. People know what's happening in the
Mhm.
town, and they don't spend a half a day to have to come to a meeting here. So they're either gonna pick up the phone and call the mayor and say, hey, I didn't like what I saw.
And it does happen.
I'm sure.
John, we were-
And the same thing with you as council, so I didn't mean it, but that's,
No
so
worries.
it's not that you can't do it, but there's an expense, and in small towns, I don't think it's needed,
Yeah.
but
But
you
it's
know.
just, it's kind of
Yeah.
like just.
They don't
Probably.
like the feeling of the formality. I got a lot of what you're saying about people, campaigning. We want to stay small, things were way better when we were small and rural and that kind of thing. And, a couple, I said, well, that horse has left the barn.
Well, that's left the
You
barn
know,
decades ago.
we can manage the future,
Yes.
or we can wish we had.
No, you want to be in the A.
Bingo. But I think it's fair to say, as a goal, and I don't know if these words are in there, but I think it would be fair to say something like, as a goal, we'd like to preserve some of the small town character
That is.
as much as possible.
That's,
Part.
yes.
And kind of give people the flavor.
I took the time to write out my thoughts, took me 20 pages to
There you
describe,
go.
just like that.
So we'd like to, keep it small and
Mhm.
comfortable and
Well, I
tree
mean,
covered and all those
Yes.
kinds of things, and hold down the traffic noise, which is my favorite.
I wish we
horse to
could, but
beat
those tractor trailers going down this road here just irritate the crap out of me.
Oh, yeah. So anyway, so that.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry,
We
maybe
need
you
to
want to
talk.
say something, it's your meeting.
no, it's fine.
Oh.
This is all good conversation. Just to add on to what John just said about the small town, rural feel, we don't want to grow, we want to keep it just like it was 1985, and that's just not reality, period. So I had an interesting conversation this past week and with a citizen, and it's amazing what you find out when they say, I don't like anything about you, I don't like what you stand for, you're all about growth, economic growth, blah, blah, blah. And I said, okay, so tell me, do you understand or do you know what the city of Keystone Heights demographics are? Explain to me where you think the city begins and ends. Well, guess what? It was all the 32656. And I'm
Most
like,
people don't
yep.
understand the city boundary
They
is
do not.
not the same as the postal.
It's
That's-
1.1 square miles, that is
That
all
is-
we
And
are.
I said, so my next question is, they go, oh, I didn't know that. So my next question is, where are we gonna put all these people that you're talking about? Mr. Wiggins is getting ready to build a subdivision, that might be another 153 people per household, whatever it's gonna be, which we welcome that. But really, guys, you're talking like around 1,500 people. We don't have any space for anybody to go. We are not gonna get a Publix. I just kind of had to go through the whole thing and explain, this is how it is. And guess what? If you go online and look at our strategic plan, it is all about staying small. It's staying real, it's staying family oriented. It's, that's our focus.
Not much
And that
else
is
we can
something
do.
that we're gonna
Yeah,
continue
correct.
to go for and fight for. And then all of this, like you say, is the bigger picture of all the other stuff that kind of nobody, not the pretty stuff necessarily, but septic to sewer, whatever, So, I had a 30-minute conversation just last week trying to educate someone. So I look at any time any of us that comes up, treat it as an opportunity to
Sure.
educate them on the facts,
Yeah.
the actual facts. I'll show you a map. Let me show you exactly where that is. Now you tell me where we're going to bring in 20,000 people. I mean, another comment was the RV resort has caused our homelessness here. Are you serious? I mean, they don't want, I'm like, that is not true at all. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it's interesting what people say. And I look at any time like that, it's not confrontational. It's an opportunity to educate them on what we all stand for and what we believe and what we already know we've done, which is all public. And I'm actually in the part right now where I'm visiting more than 50 of our businesses here and sharing with them one-on-one our strategic plan. And so I want them as business owners here to understand where we're going so that they are invested in our future. And if they hear other businesses that may want to come here, we would love that if we have a
Yeah,
spot.
and I appreciate that. It's actually a big part of what my dissertation was about, was including stakeholders in the process,
Yep.
because then in the end, they're more, we had evidence that they are more inclined to implement and to be more accepting
Be
of the
supportive,
change.
yeah.
So that actually was the driver of that question of mine, and what you just said made me happy. Thank you.
And as much effort as our staff goes to put it on media, whatever, it surprises me what folks just don't know until you actually sit down and have the
I will tell
conversation
you,
with them.
most of
It's
your
amazing.
city does not even know a comprehensive plan exists
Yeah.
or what it is.
Yeah,
And about 30 people watch
Yeah.
the YouTube.
right, yeah. So, anyways,
Sorry. I'm sorry.
that's all right. No, this is good discussion. That's why we have this workshop. That's why we're having it. So that's part of the engagement process. And that's what we want to do. You are the vehicle for the engagement, so do not, feel that you cannot talk to people about this. As long as you don't talk to each other, it's fine. So the other thing is we need.
There's a caveat to this group. I mean, for example, planning and zoning can talk to the council and vice versa.
Can,
Yes.
Yeah.
Can.
Yes.
Individually.
So if
you know.
individually,
Yeah.
but if
So-
you came in with John to talk to me, you
No.
couldn't do that.
Right.
But you
Like
can
I
have a
can't go
discussion.
talk to him with one of my council members.
Right.
We have to do it's one-on-one, but I can go and talk to you.
And like I
Makes
said.
sense?
I'm gonna have a graduation cabinet.
Wait.
Yeah, and more importantly than that, you can talk to me one-on-one. You have specific questions,
Already did.
I gave Dr. Zeezer my cell phone to text me and he'd call me. That's what the city, I'm your
So it's
planner.
time for a little wine in the
Right.
park.
So anyway.
Between them.
Yeah,
So,
that's funny.
We in the
Right.
same neighborhood,
Yeah,
so
right. That's
we
what you do.
gather in a,
So one of the things that we
Green
need to
space.
do is remove any goals, objectives, and policies, which is the pink, that are outdated or deleted. For instance, there was a lot of stuff about, and I put it in there more for discussion, about things at the lake, which I know that a lot of those things, thank goodness, with the Water Management District, with the project, the Black Creek projects, maybe is not needed as much, and I'm saying maybe, not, don't take anything, as I said, I think I told Dr. Zeezer, we were talking, I've been doing this a long time, I'm very thick-skinned, you know your town better than me, I might put something out there, you go, Janice, you're wrong, fine, tell me what you want me to
Opportunity
do.
for a dad joke. The
Right.
situation with the lakes are very fluid.
Right, that's good. But anyway, so do not feel, I take these things, been doing this a long time, so I do not, if you say, I don't like that, fine, tell me how you want to fix it.
It's
So
good.
I'm thick-skinned on this.
yeah,
I've been doing this a long
have to
time.
be.
The dates, there's some like by 2012, there was a lot of in the comp plan that says, by 2012, do
I
this,
saw that.
and we didn't do it, and do we still want to do it? Yeah, if we do want to do it, we just have to change the dates, or we don't want to do this anymore. So that's kind of some of that stuff. The dates, we have to add a water supply facilities work plan, which we should have done 5 years ago, which wasn't done, but we will do it. We're doing it with the Water Management District. Yours will be fairly easy because you are not a water supplier and you're also a small city. Water Management District, I talked to the person that reviews it, he says he was not worried that you all are not in compliance because you're not a big user of water. So if it was Clay County, they would be upset that you were behind schedule, but they're not. So
We're
but
just the
that
water
would be,
supplier.
huh?
So we're just the water supplier.
Right.
Well,
And the biggest thing that I keep going back and forth because it's changing and I'm getting Willie, I've been on more discussions with it lately because we don't know where this is gonna go, is Senate Bill 180 requirements. A Senate bill, and you can pipe in, Rich, because you're up to date as I am, more than I am, but I have been on a meeting with the planning directors in Northeast Florida, with the planning directors of Clay County, not Clay County, Flagler, because I represent Marineland. Also, I was on a webinar with 1,000 Friends of Florida today, and basically in a nutshell, the easiest way to say it, and we don't know where it's going, it was adopted and passed in this last legislative session, like supposedly on the last night. It went into effect, I guess July 1st. And it basically says, it was through emergency management, that was the push, is that if you that you cannot pass any legislation, comp plan amendment, et cetera, that is more restricted than what you had in August 1st, 2024. And that's going to stay in effect at least till 27. It's got the planning world up in arms. There's been lawsuits already filed. And the other thing, Florida Commerce, what they're doing now, if they feel that the local governments are sending comp plans to the state for their final review, going back to that thing of what you don't need to send to the state, if they feel it's more restrictive, they are saying null and void, Senate Bill 180 takes precedent, you can't make these changes. Understand the communities they've done it to, they did it to St. Johns County, right? They did it to Orlando or Orange County, they did it a lot of cities that were kind of caught in between. They sent their comp plan for the review in the spring when Senate Bill 180 wasn't in existence yet, and then when they said they're adopted, it was after 180. And so basically, we in the planning where we're hoping to make a legislative fix, I don't have a lot of confidence in those things because over the years when they've made these glitch amendments, they don't always help. But neither here nor there, we've got to play this out. So that is something that we need to be cognizant to let you know how bizarre this could be. I just submitted Petty Farms comp plan for their review. They're, like I said, everybody's Clay County. Usually the county is, which they had to do theirs last year, and all the cities are doing them this year. And we added a level of service standard in Petty Farms for pickleball and volleyball. That's the only thing we added of any, we could get kicked. We don't know, but it'll be interesting if they kick us back for that. But they're not just kicking us back, like take this policy. My understanding, they're kicking the whole comp plan back, correct? Yeah.
yeah.
Is it due to cost? Go on.
No, it's because it,
Okay, hold on.
What is the purpose?
Janice knows a lot of information in her brain, and she's talking like you guys know
right,
this.
I know, I'm sorry,
Let me
because I had
just, by
to.
show of hands, who understood what she was talking about?
Okay.
180, yeah.
I understood that they
Probably.
added something that wasn't a
Of
big
course,
deal.
I have questions.
I understand that the 180
Let's
thing
start
is
with a
kind
little
of
history.
welterweight.
So,
I did.
there's anecdotal information that went to the legislature, that when a storm, when a hurricane came through, that people's houses were being blown away, and then they came to rebuild their house, and the local government was putting up bureaucratic red tape and wouldn't let people rebuild their houses. So that's why it's under the emergency management. So what happened is the Senate Bill 180 said that if you're within 2 years of a named storm, and they actually named certain storms, Helene, and I forgot what the other
Milton.
two were. Milton was one of them. So if you're within a certain time period from when this bill passed, you cannot, and the two buzzwords are, you cannot pass a comp plan amendment that is more burdensome or more restrictive than your current plan. And it even goes back 2 years. So we could conceivably have passed something even before this existed that is now considered void ab initio, meaning it never existed, and you cannot go forward.
So,
The
so
bill
is,
also sunsets October 1st of 2027.
the driver is the building standards?
Well, it's
Is
just-
that what I'm
it's-
hearing?
Well, the bill,
The comprehensive plan, so what's the vision on what you're allowed to do with your property. So the legislature essentially said, and the governor signed it, that you cannot pass anything that's more burdensome and restrictive. So like Janice was saying, like St. Johns County had been working with a consultant for over a year on updating the same thing we're doing. It's called the ERP, it's the evaluation and appraisal reports. And that consultant spent, tens of thousands of dollars analyzing data, proposing different things, and it came back with, I think it was like 27 or 32 different things that they said violated SB 180. So that whole comp plan work is now void ab initio.
Did you say that sunsets in a year and a half?
in
Yes,
2027.
October 1st, 2027.
Wow, that's interesting, okay.
Now,
Well-
even though that's the case, there have been a lot of, as Janice said, planners and local governments that are complaining to the legislature, saying, look, we didn't know what this, by the way, this was passed almost unanimously in both the House and the Senate. I think there was only one House member that voted against it.
Right.
And they're saying they thought it was more of an emergency management tool. They didn't realize that it was going to have the collateral consequences on the property. So it is likely to be taken up this legislative session to have some sort of event. But that being said, the work that we're doing now, you have to be extremely cautious not to create something that is more restrictive or more burdensome than what we currently have.
And those storms are named, if you remember, I guess it was last year, yeah, that literally all 67 counties were affected.
It's any county that was under a local state of emergency,
Which was all
Which was all-
67.
all
Right. Right. And like, for instance, one of the things that somebody was saying today on one of these webinars, I was listening, like, Palm Beach County, which is a huge county, like Clay County is big, but Palm Beach County is bigger. Let's say the storm hit up in Orange Park, didn't affect you in Keystone at all, but because it's the county, you are under the
Well,
same.
that's the problem we have, is some of these named storms
Wow.
never came anywhere close.
Right, right. They were, so we just need to be aware. It's not to say we shouldn't be going through this process, but at the end of the
Be
day,
careful.
when we need to be careful. And
Look,
so,
when we say careful, we're talking like St. Johns County changed something from, and I forgot what the topic was, it was like a buffer or something. May include 15-foot buffer, and they changed it to shall include. Kicked it back.
Big difference. Yeah.
because now it's if
It's a
you wanted to do,
requirement.
you had to do it.
It's a
So, yes.
Because we know that, no.
Right. So,
Yeah.
we're,
But
the
when you take things out, keep in mind, so there are expected amendments this year, but the amendments could extend this another, could make it permanent, could extend it another 2 years past this. So even though there's the sunset provision, don't think that solves all the problems.
Right.
So when you take something out of your comp plan, just understand that we'll probably be okay with that. However, there's a good chance that if you take it out and then 2 years later you want to put something back, you're not putting it back. So be similarly careful about what you take out.
right. And so,
That's the pink,
that's the pink.
part.
And so, like I said, you know, or even some of the green, because, you know, right now the green is stuff for the LDR. So, and Rich and I talked about this morning, when I did this a couple of weeks ago, this is an evolving situation because all these comprehensive plans are now just getting kicked back. So what I might have said to you a month ago.
One that has not gotten picked.
Yeah, so what I said to you a month ago, I
In the
have
entire
learned a
state,
lot.
I've
Yeah.
heard one hit.
Unbelievable.
Well, we're gonna break that trend.
Yes. Wow.
So anyway, so that, I just wanted you to know. Next slide, and we'll keep moving on. So
Thank you.
okay, so these are the elements that are required in pretty much this order. It kind of goes by state statute. We call it in Keystone Community Facilities, other places call it infrastructure or public facilities. At the end of the day, if we decide to call it infrastructure, we can change, that's an easy change of a name, but that's your water, sewer, drainage element. The other ones are pretty self-explanatory. The one thing that we do not have is a property rights element, which was an add-on in
Which is required.
which is required. I forgot about it.
What did you say?
It's a property rights.
The last issue.
The
so
last
this
one to
was
be added.
Not
It-
last year, but the year before, the legislature made a requirement to have a property rights element. The other one is transportation and traffic circulation. I don't know why everybody's renaming that mobility, because now that you
Yeah,
have
so-
food bikes and all those things, people aren't calling them traffic or
Yeah.
transportation anymore.
But yeah, I mean, we might read, we can do that. But anyway, so those are the elements. The public school facilities one is pretty much the one that was written, it has been written by the school board. We just all agreed to
Well,
it.
that was that was actually one of my questions, because I was going through that thinking, you know, how is that our place to be putting these words in?
Because the legislature required it about probably 10 years ago. You had to have an educate, or maybe even more, an education element. Then they came back and said you don't, but then Clay County decided they wanted to keep it. So if Clay County wants to keep it, we all have
keep
to.
it.
Because we're in Clay County, yeah.
So anyways, it's, you know, and we collect the impact fees when we have a house and all that stuff. Anyway. All right, next. So, to me, and I have been doing this for a long time, but if I've ever had to go to a judge to swear on that I know what I'm doing, it always has to do with, in court cases or anything like that, any challenges, have had to deal with the future land use element mostly, and the future land use map. So those are, to me, the ones that we need to make sure you're happy with those categories. I got bigger maps for everybody, and so that you can look at where it is. So I'm just going to quickly go over the policy. So LU141. That is the description, which is page 8 of
Do you
your.
have the old one of these?
This-
I'm looking, this is the old one?
I have not amended it at all. This is the one that's current.
That's the only one right
That's the
now.
only one.
Okay.
We haven't
Just
amended,
printed bigger.
I just printed bigger and better colors, so I think I found a
But
copy
this
of it.
says 2025 future land, so this is not proposed.
When
This
you
is just
do,
the starting.
this is the
Okay,
starting
thank
point.
you.
The one that's adopted,
This
you
one.
adopted in 2011 for 2025.
Okay.
We will adopt a new comp plan map that will probably say future land use 2040.
Okay.
But 2011, we were looking at 2025, so that's why that map says 2025.
I think
It's
the law
future-
now requires us to have a 20-year plan.
Yeah.
20-year plan now?
You have to do a
20-year
20-year,
fluid.
20-year.
Okay, so here, I'm gonna just give some highlights, so as you look at the map, and this is in that policy that's on page 8 and 9. So we have a residential category, and basically it says that you can have both attached, detached, mobile homes, multifamily. We only have one residential category, which I'm not saying we should or should not have it.
Yeah.
And it says, no matter what kind of housing you have, it's a maximum density of 6 units per acre. You don't have anything higher than 6 units per acre. So if somebody wanted to do a multifamily development of 10 units per acre, as of right now, they would have to come to you and ask for what we call a text amendment to add a new category. Okay.
Not a variance?
No,
It's-
they have to create a new category.
They have to
Creating a
create
category,
it.
thank you.
Yeah. Variance is a land development regulation, and it has to be set out what you can vary.
Is,
Which we won't do very well, but
Yeah, that's a whole nother, yeah.
What is the definition of unit in this sentence?
Dwelling unit?
Dwelling unit.
Dwelling unit.
So, anything, anywhere somebody can live, an apartment, condo, townhouse, home.
Okay.
And there's
So
an
if
additional one
there's-
there, you could stack them so many high too, it's like 20 high or something.
And that's
Well,
one
that's
unit?
another, no,
Correct.
one, yeah, we don't,
We're not there.
we do not have in your comp plan anything more than a density requirement. for-
Okay, so unit, it does not relate to family or whatever.
No,
A unit
it's
is
a dwelling
A
unit.
building.
It's a building and how many living units are considered. So you have to have a bedroom, you have to have a kitchen, you have to have a
Okay.
living room to be a
Occupied.
occupiable unit.
And, right, what I just heard is there's no height limit. There's one limit, and that one limit is,
I believe there's a height
6 or 8
limit.
I think there
I
is
think there's a height
a height limit,
I
but
think
I think
it's
it's in
30,
your
yeah.
land development regulations. Yeah, 35
So
foot.
it's 35.
I think it's 35 foot,
You
which
want to say
is,
3 floors, 35 feet?
right. So but that's in your land development regulations. That's not in your comp plan,
Okay.
okay?
So
Which
units
one are we
is the
referencing right
footprint.
now, one more time, Janice?
LU 1.4.1.
1.4.1, that one.
Page
Okay,
eight.
yep.
141 bucks.
Okay, the next one that we need to look at, in my recommendation, you guys can look at whatever you want, is the next category is in mixed use. I'm just going down your categories that you have in your future land use map. This is the picture of where they should be, and this is a description of what they should be. And they have, so they tie together. So you have a mixed use category, which is in kind of your downtown area. If I'm correct, this is purplish
Yep.
blue.
Yep.
Okay,
What page?
it's page 8.
Okay, page 8.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
you're
Okay, so the mixed use category is a good idea. It's the idea that you can do both residential and commercial in an area.
It's considered transition.
It's
So
transition.
when you look at the map, you don't want to have a concrete plan next to a single family. So you have residential, you have commercial, you have residential, mixed use, commercial, industrial. You want to see transitions into these different areas. Like you don't want a gas station in the middle of a residential neighborhood for the most part.
You don't want a sharp demarcation.
Yeah,
from-
so
So
with these,
mixed use, Jen's saying we don't really have a lot of mixed use.
Yeah.
Mixed use would be a good transition from Lawrence or from commercial circle to the residents that are behind that.
a good mixed use development, like for instance Fleming Island, that development, they did it through a DRI, but that was a mixed use where they had commercial, different kinds of residential, it was planned, but the idea that initially when we did comp plans, you had residential, commercial, industrial, and they realized, well, that's not great, it's good to have maybe a mixture of stuff, and so,
Like you might have apartment buildings in between commercial and single family.
right. So the idea of mixed use is a good idea. That's something that's been added to a lot of comprehensive plans, which is good. Your mixed use category talks about the mix of uses controlled is on a per block basis to ensure that a mix of uses is maintained despite the individual ownership of lots within the block. A maximum mix of commercial to residential within any block shall be no more than 50% commercial and residential use.
Two, commercial,
Right,
two.
to residential. So that is, in my book, very restrictive. And it gets more than, it talks about the maximum density residential, 6 units an acre, that's fine. But then it says, residential located above non-residential uses, so that's the old, you'd have a one-store commercial on stair, shall be considered half of the residential for purpose of measuring density, permitting in 12 units per acre. So you're letting a higher density if you do this mix. And then it goes into how many square feet of commercial. Then it goes on to in the 4th paragraph. It says parcels within the mixed-use designation that front on Lawrence Boulevard between State Road 100 and City Hall, up the street, are currently developed with commercial uses. Commercial use without a mix of residential use is permitted to continue, provided individual structures are not expanded despite their inconsistency with the mixed requirements in this land use district. So basically, this policy would limit somebody, and we did have somebody that was looking at expanding a business on vacant property on commercial, but he was only gonna do more commercial, he cannot do it without adding some residential. So that's just, I think that's something we need to look at. I'm not against mixed use, I think mixed use is a good idea, especially in your downtown area. But to have this as restrictive as it is might not be good, and that would be something that would be fine with Senate Bill 180 because we would be making it less restrictive.
Janice, can I do a description real quick?
Yeah.
So, I won't use the specific one, but I'll give you an example of what could be similar. So, Guns and Gifts is that gap between Guns and Gifts and the barber shop and a series of 3 other places. So let's say, I don't know who owns it, but let's say Guns and Gifts buys that and wants to build something else, an infill in there. But they can't do a business right now because that block is 100% commercial. And so the way our code is written currently in the mixed use,
The comprehensive plan.
I'm sorry, the comprehensive plan, that area right there, until, nothing can be done with that until there's what, 50% residential use on the block.
Well, it can stay, I mean, you can say.
They can stay the same.
They're
but you couldn't-
grandfathered in.
You couldn't infill a new business into that area.
They're grandfathered in, but if they wanted to expand their business, they could not. Because because they're asking for the expansion without adding more residential.
So that, like Mr. Wiggins is putting more residential, that would open the door to additional commercial. But let's talk too about, you each made a comment earlier on before we even start talking about the mechanics of the concept, that people want to maintain kind of the rural family lifestyle here. The challenge that every municipality has is that if you want to maintain as much rural, the only place you can go is up. So then you have to start looking at different lots and look at either townhomes, we put apartment buildings, things like that. Because there's only so much land. I mean, you can look at our map here, there's not anywhere else for it to go.
You can only grow up.
Right. And so that was probably the
Well, if-
concept.
unless
Unless you
Annex
want to
it.
increase density per lot. So if you want to be able to have a house on a 5,000, 6,000 square foot lot, you could do it that way, but then I'll tell you, most people in this neighborhood are gonna go nuts if you try to do that.
Right.
I mean, because 6 units per acre is.
It's pretty small.
Well, it's not that.
Go ahead.
What Rich said about going up, but what else, what that also provides, it provides more green space on that particular lot, right? Instead of having just everything concrete,
I see that.
right? You can maybe go up, maybe go a little bit higher than 35, and then you keep half of it green. To me, that's something we should be thinking about, not just, well, it's just too many houses, well, or it's too high. Well, why is somebody asking for more houses or units, and why are they asking for the height? This could be one of the reasons.
Keep some grass.
Well, it's also, it's affordability, but, so like Rich said, 5,000 square foot lots. Right now, 70, your lot size is, for 6 units per acre, is 7260. So that's a little under
So it's still
that.
small.
That's really small.
Right,
It
I'm
depends on
not,
where you are.
right,
Depends, yeah.
Like, I work in Baker County. If you have less than a 5 acre lot, they think that's pretty small.
yeah.
Kinda
So
constrained.
anyways, these are the important things that we need to think of. What, do you want to mix use? Like, for instance, the big yellow area, that's, I think that's some of that's yours, you
Yeah.
own this, or Joe. Would that be a good area to have some mixture of a certain amount of commercial and residential? For instance, in Penny Farms, they have a mixed use area that's 70-30. Whenever you do development, you know, because it's acres that are owned by Reinhold, so there's one landowner, they cannot come to the town without a mixture of uses. If they go to that land use category, it's 70-30.
70 what, 30 what?
70 residential,
Thank
30
you.
commercial, I'm sorry. But yes, so they have, any development that comes to it has to think about both. So if you, let's say, for instance, change that, and I'm not saying, you know, I'm not recommending, but if you say, we think that acreage would be a good for mixture, you number one have to say what you want that mixture of uses to be, what density of each, and then for commercial, we use these intensities, which is that FARs, that's the intensity development, because you can't do in density for commercial, but it has how much building you're gonna put on your lot. We have to figure that So I think, like I said, this is something that we need to think about what we want. Then we go on to the commercial land uses, which you have one. Here's one place that's kind of inconsistent with your comp plan and your code, is you have, going on to page 9, you have 2 industrial categories. You have a light industrial and an industrial, but you only in your zoning don't have an industrial.
We don't have an industrial.
No, you do have an industrial zoning.
I understand, but if you look at the map, the only spot
Right.
we have is light industrial, and it's right above the Fox Club.
Right.
Now, our airport can handle the industrial area.
But that's not in your comp plan, because it's not your.
It's not within the city.
Anyways, and again, you look at the description of the types of uses in each of those, and then your zoning would tie up to it. You also have institution, which is your public buildings and your schools, which is
Pretty much everything.
it's purplish.
What's it say?
Then you have recreation and open space, which is your parks. And
Conservation.
yeah. And then your conservation are your last category.
They're
And a
the
lot of
hatch-
times,
they're the hatch area.
and your property, a lot of times you have to have conservation, it's wetlands, or if you got, I think across the street, the land you got with Florida Community Trust dollars, you either have to designate it on your comp plan to conservation or recreation, so that's why you have a conservation. I think yours is recreation.
It's recreation.
Yeah, but it has to be one or the other. So that, like I said, that policy is very important.
I missed some of the discussion about the airport. Does the airport property fall within this? It's
Totally
Bradford.
So the.
No, it's, yeah, go ahead.
Imagine that we own property, but that even though it's our property, it's not governed by our zoning. We have an interlocal agreement with Bradford County where we agreed to allow Bradford County to handle the comp plan and zoning information
For
for
the
that piece of
airport.
property.
Yeah, I assume it's also covered in another local with Clay for their portion of the airport.
No.
Really?
Bradford actually handles all of the
The whole
airport
thing?
property.
Now, I understand you're the property owner, so you do have certain rights as property owner.
I was gonna say,
And
is it- so are we
responsibilities.
do we risk being at the mercy of Bradford County
No, you can always terminate the interlocal agreement.
and then do what?
Make your own.
Oh, okay. In other words, hey, you can't do that, we own it,
Yeah.
go away.
But if they care through the public process, they could do it, but that's neither here nor there, we're not gonna talk about that.
But
So
the big
are
issue is
there-
it's not contiguous to the city
Right.
limits.
Right.
Thus,
So
it
then
wouldn't
we
be
can-
covered by our comp plan.
And we can't even access.
Are there models of towns similar to ours who have approached their comprehensive plan perhaps in a manner that we may not find ourselves thinking right now? Because I feel like we're going through a very traditional thought process.
I've been dealing with this for a long time, and, maybe.
Apalachicola, what about Apalachicola? What about-
I guarantee you pull up their future land use map, it probably looks a lot like this one.
Even their multi-use and even their
Oh, they're not mixed.
description
They're-
and that sort of stuff?
It's not gonna be.
Well, do the floodplain and all there, that's a little different.
Well, I'm not thinking about
For
those
instance-
specifics, I'm thinking about the attraction. I'm thinking about the beauty of Keystone Heights. I'm
Similar
thinking-
type of setting,
Right,
rural setting.
Well,
right.
counties look different, because counties' land use categories they might have, for instance, Jacksonville, they'll have a commercial general category, there's 4 zoning categories under it, because they have multiple commercial categories, but then they have multiple, in each commercial categories, they have multiple zoning categories. Smaller towns don't, because it's just, you don't have, you did your original map at what I call the parcel level, so they're not as 5,000 scale, the larger map. Green Coast Springs just made a change. They used to have 3 or 4 residential, single-family dwelling, or residential land use categories, and they created neighborhoods, I think it is now, which allows up to 12 in their comp plan, but then they still have individual zoning categories. you could, but you already only have one of most categories, so, you know, your
We don't
mixed
have that
use
much
is.
land.
And it
Huh?
feels like
And
it's
you
on
don't-
a collision
Yeah.
with that Senate Bill one
Yeah,
eighty.
no, well, I don't think about that, it's just,
Depends.
I wouldn't think that, but the main thing is you don't have that much land, and you don't have a lot of choices, you know, unlike larger, you know, Clay County has more.
Right, Clay County
Cattle.
has more undeveloped land.
Well, like Fleming Island was created, what, 30 years ago? Somewhere
Yeah, it was
around there?
done through a DRI.
That was DRI.
And
So
so
master
you look
plan,
at us,
yeah.
we're 100 years old, so, you know, I think about these towns and part of that mixed use thing, like you mentioned, and when it was started fresh and they're starting all brand new and all the buildings look very similar in their architecture and the finishes and all that, so they can blend in all those different types of either business,
Oh,
residential, so everything kind of looks
Yeah.
like a Palm Coast, for example. Whereas
Palm
here,
Coast is the classic example of master plan.
Right,
Correct.
that's
Exactly.
Deltona, yeah.
yeah, and so since we've been here as long as we have, you know, for us to do that, to try to include, I think, like what you're saying, more mixed use, number one, we don't have the space, the only way would be to go up. But the only way to me, I think, to keep that feel would be that we'd have to go to a look or something. I know we did some stuff with painting some of the buildings and all, so everything looks like it was always like that, like it all fit and it all looked the same like forever and ever. But yet you've added a 2-story building, but it blends in with the style of the feel of the
Those
city.
are architectural guidelines.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. Those
Yeah.
would be under your LDRs, not
Yeah.
under
Right.
comment.
But it is something to think about, and it's
Yeah,
also in
For a
response to
mixed-use
this
opportunity.
discussion, exactly, that
For growth.
was actually kind
Right.
of where I was rolling
You
towards.
But I
may
was-
want to consider, thinking along commercial, you may want to consider allowing some of that to be mixed use where, for example, if somebody wants to build like a residence on top of one of the stores,
Right.
something like that, that's classic mixed use.
Right, but you don't have to make it as a requirement that's gotta be 50/50, you might allow it as a use. But like, you know, the biggest thing is we have, and this is not unique to small towns, because Springs is the same thing, Orange Park has the same problem. You were developed at the at the crossroads of two major highways. So you had commercial stripped along 100 and 21.
21 and 100.
And then right behind it, you have residential.
Right.
And so if you were planning that today, i.e. when you talked about Fleming Island, you have more buffer between the resident, you'll have commercial, then you might have multifamily, and then your single family. You got that single family backing right up to the
Yep.
commercial. You know,
That's what
and
made
that's-
sense at the time.
Right, well, and that's what they were trying to create the mixed use.
18-wheelers coming
Yeah,
out
right.
of 21.
Oh, man.
The, what you were saying, Jamie, about that walkway at the Gibson Guns, between the Gibson Guns and the barber shop right here, the other day I walked through there thinking, this is delightful. It's a piece of grass, plant a tree, and you have a little pocket park, and I think I remember reading
Right.
pocket parks in our strategic plan, did I
We
not?
talked about implementing pocket parks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is,
Getting the land
I
to
would
do it.
love for us to be thinking along those lines, because this is where I plan to,
Right, but
Well,
that would be
years.
more those type of things you could do in your land development regulations. Like you do have, I think, in your land development regulations, that you have to have some, parking.
We do.
You have to have, you're supposed to have some, recreation in
Yes,
residential.
we do.
So, yeah.
There's a certain
So,
percentage,
right,
I forgot
right.
what it is.
Okay, so that's kind of, this map is important in these categories. You wanna go, did I miss anything?
Well,
else on that?
the one thing that I'll just rehash on that, it wasn't, I don't have any issue with the mixed use. I think it's a good idea. I think we'd want to let people, if they want to put a residence on top of it, I think that's really interesting and a new way of changing.
Right.
But the way we're currently worded in that purple area downtown, until
it's 50/50.
you have to build residential in there
Right.
until the mix comes up,
Yeah.
and there's no opportunity for expansion of businesses or just new business going in there
On a vacant
Right.
property.
as it's currently worded.
Right.
So we've opened ourselves up where mixed use is good, but we've been very, 10, 15 years ago, we very specifically said it's got to come with a whole lot of residential because of that mixed use. So I think what Janice is saying is we need to look at that 50-50 mix requirement.
And
Or
have-
maybe that's what we want, but I don't think there's been a single residence built in there in the last 15 years since we did it, would be my guess.
And we're limiting some commercial from expanding if they want.
Right. So that's why I wanted to call out that 50-50 mix.
The other policy I have on that the slide before, but I'll just mention it is, we talked about land use map and the land use element, but we also have an annexation policy, as I call it, LU18, and there's an emphasis, there's an objective under it. And,
Yes.
yeah, and that is on page 12. Yeah. And basically, it is saying that the minimum density for land annex after shall be minimum is 3 units per acre, at a minimum. So you're saying it has to be 3 units. I read it wrong. I looked at it, I get Larry and I look, but it's a minimum of 3 units per acre.
Well, we're just planting seeds for you to think about as you look
Right.
at comp plan.
Right. So it's saying you have to at least come in with 3 units per acre, and then it'd be no more than
Shall
6. Shall be, yes. So you couldn't bring in somebody who wanted to do large acreage, they just want to have a large lot community of an acre development. I don't know what's
We
allowed
just don't
there.
have the land to.
Right. So anyways, but that's just, that is do we want to encourage annexation or not?
My
Would you
opinion, yes.
define,
Well, and that,
would you define annexation in this
Annexation is-
context for me, please?
okay, so you see the red line?
Mhm.
Any property that's outside of the, that's the city limits, any,
So if somebody would like to become part of the city, then they could request to be annexed in. So we
Into-
redraw the line and they would become part of the city. However, there can't be, it has to be contiguous, so you have to abut.
Contiguous.
has to
Well, like-
But right to the current borders, you can't just pick somebody one lot away and have a space in between. That creates what's called conflict.
and you can't, like, for instance, you couldn't have, like this, the third, let's say the third lot in here, which is contiguous, but that would, these people in the
Isolate
middle
them.
would isolate them. So if like you wanted to get this lot, you'd have to get all of these lots. But that's what
You
you're
just can't pick
saying.
and choose, it's a geographic
Right.
area.
Right, it has to be compact.
Neighborhoods basically have to work together.
Right,
Correct.
but if you wanted to annex like this property in,
We own this
Right.
and this, right, so they could be annexed in,
Right.
correct?
yeah, right, because, yeah, that would be if Joe, if they wanna come in, because if this one, well, if this one comes in, that's easy, and you could do this one, this might be questionable in that middle one, but yes, that's what it is. Annexation is any property in white that's around you,
Thank you.
okay? So anyways, okay,
But you say it make less restrictive in that, what's to do with the 3 units per acre part? Maybe-
no, it's a
Another one.
minimum of 3, so if somebody wanted to come in and,
Let's say they have one house on 1 acre. Right now, we can't do it.
And
Yeah,
Well,
to make it less restrictive, you just delete that provision.
yeah,
That's
just
right.
say you promote
that's what you're
annexation.
proposing
Yeah.
here is delete that.
Yeah.
No, we're not proposing.
No, we're not proposing.
We're just making you think about it.
No,
These
that's
are
just up
things-
to you.
Yes,
Okay.
okay.
Staff, we will just tell you what your options are.
Maybe I misunderstood your coding.
I
here.
Right.
appreciate that.
Well, we're,
That
these
can be
are,
deleted.
right,
Okay.
these are all my thoughts, just to get us started.
Okay.
If you say, Janice, we like it like it is, let's keep it, I'm fine with that too.
We're not there yet.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, it's
Just talking
not,
about options.
right,
I
I'm just giving
understand.
options. It's-
I'm trying to keep us on focus for today.
Right,
to
I'm
get through the
just,
pla- get through our
your
itinerary.
vehicle to tell, you say what you want me to do. Okay, go to the next slide so we can kind of wrap this up. Okay, so we kind of created this timeline. Tonight is our joint workshop. We have a planning and zoning board meeting for the November 24th. I'll go a little bit more about what we want to do between now and then. Then we'll have, this is my proposal, we
I
can
didn't
change
know we had
it.
the 24th, sorry, thanks.
It would, yes, it's on the calendar
That's
that
what's
I
on the
saw.
calendar, correct?
I'm sorry.
That's all right. We would have another plan, my thought is to have another planning and zoning board in January, and then in March, we would have our official transmittal that would allow us to get it to the council transmitted in April to be within our timeline. The in-between gaps, between now and the 24th, between the 24th and January, it also gives us a chance to have a February meeting if we need to before the transmittal in March. That is for you to come to me, as I said, we're your vehicle, staff is your vehicle for talking, to say, Janice, or staff, I'm not gonna do this alone, we got, Rich is gonna be there with me, and Mo and Jamie. We think we need to change policy, blah, 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 because we think it's too restrictive, or we'd like to add something to it. When we submit it to the state, it has to be an underlined and strikeout version. I am not asking you to do that. I'm asking you to tell me what you feel, which policies.
ideas.
These are I think these policies are too restrictive. I think these policies.
You're
I'm
having
not-
a made-up conversation right this minute saying, one of us may come to you saying, I think this, whatever.
Right.
You're not suggesting that.
No, I gave you, my color code was something to think about, because these are when I look through it, but like I said, as I said in the beginning, I'm thick-skinned, so you can tell me any way that you want. And I'll give an example, Penny Farms, they kept saying they wanted mixed use, they wanted the downtown, the thing that you wanted, the downtown, the upstairs residential, but they didn't want a density beyond, I think there's a 6 units per acre.
So those things are inconsistent.
So they're not, so then they just said, you know what, if somebody comes to us with a development that's higher than 6 units per acre, we'll look at it. But, so they would have to do a text amendment and a land use amendment. They said, but right now, we want to keep it at the density we have. Okay, fine. And we spent a lot of time going to get back to say that we were gonna say the same.
Well, the process is part of the solution.
Right.
So spending that time was important.
Oh, yeah, I'm not saying that was important.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, that's what, so that's what, if you go to the next slide, we've been having, I think we've had questions and discussions, so you go to the next slide after that.
Yeah, we definitely not stopped.
Okay, so, which is fine, this is what a workshop is. So, we've got this planning and zoning board meeting that was on this schedule for the 24th. What we would like to have is submit any comments or questions specific to the comp plan, to the map, or any of the maps that are in your comp plan by Monday, November 3rd. That will give me time to come up with a draft for staff to go over it, come up with a draft that I can put on the website a week before, I guess we did the 17th or something like that, yeah.
Wherever that
somewhere
prior week,
before.
yep.
With the underline and strikeout. And the reason I did it this way, when you look at it underline and strikeout the first time, you get leery-eyed. And because it's sometimes really hard. But that's how we have to do it, because that's what the state requires. But this way, you can just ask me comments and questions. I will kind of incorporate them in together, because, and say, okay, these are comments that everybody had. Everybody was consistent, we need to do blah, and so that's why this policy is. One member said this is what you have, and then at that meeting, you as the planning and zoning board would say, we like this, we don't like this, and if we decide we need another meeting in December to go over some of the additional things, or split the elements, and let's just do the first 4 elements, and we'll do one in January, the second 4, whatever we want, we'll have a better idea when everybody kind of gives me the comments back, me being to both, but whatever, Jamie, to give it to Jamie. I don't know why I'm calling you both, because I know you're Jamie, but I was thinking, but.
Both hiding behind the mic.
I know. Anyways, but so that we can, and I might say that, you know, these were the comments, everybody had the same comment about this, and this is how I revised that policy. And you go, great, you did a great job of revising it. No, we don't like how you do it. Let's talk about that. So that would be what the 24th meeting is, to kind of make hopefully some decisions. If there's a lot for us to go over, then we'll say, okay, we're gonna have a meeting in December where we'll go continue it or
This is
split
only
the elements.
based on what your recommendations are.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing you say is, we go to you, or you three, with questions, comments, wants, desires. So that way then we're not talking to each other.
Yeah.
Right.
You compile the data, and then we come back on the 24th with, this is the data I compiled, and 3 of you want this, so therefore it's the majority, and this is what you're gonna be presented with.
Right.
That, is that
Or
correct?
discuss. I might
Okay.
say everybody had
Thanks.
a comment related to this L1 whatever policy, and it was everybody had the same comment. So
Gotcha.
it was easy.
Understood.
And a lot of times that's what it is everybody has the same comment, or nobody had a comment, only, you know, this is a question that one member had about this, and believe me, any of the council gives input too, because
Well,
obviously you're the
I was gonna
ultimate.
ask you if this is gonna be a meeting or a workshop
Yes.
on the 24th.
Well,
Yes.
we're not, until they have the official transmittal here, they're all meeting workshops. is
Just
the
like,
best way to say
just
it.
like this, boss.
Okay, good, because this is fun. I like
Yeah.
this.
And I would request some level of flexibility in that November the 3rd And we don't, good, thank you.
Yeah.
What?
Because you can make changes all the way up to.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
The way that we do the ordinance that will be finally adopting this is an attachment. So literally until adoption, which is even after it comes back from the state, we can make as many changes as we want. We just have to discuss it. So yeah, there is never, this is the last time you have a chance to look at this in this.
No deadlines coming up anytime soon.
No, but we have to give some deadlines, otherwise we'll never
Sure.
get anywhere.
Just get through the process.
But to clarify, we're gonna use the planning and zoning board meetings as kind of the backbone of regular reoccurring discussions as
Right.
this process moves forward.
But if we want to do it as a workshop like this at those
Sure.
meetings, then that's fine too. We can do it with,
That would be my preference if I have one, if I'm allowed to state it, that would be my preference.
Which is that?
Well, so what we have
I think
what we
it's
did
most
right
helpful.
now,
Yeah.
I would like this to be the medium that we use at our meetings moving forward. We would have to have a spot in there so Mr. Wiggins and whoever else wants to sit there can make comments. But as far as our discussion, I think this is very productive and I would like this to continue. And obviously we have a bunch of nods, so there we go.
Yeah, I think that probably the easiest way to do that is, we'll just use the schedule planning and what would it be, a planning and zoning board meeting? There'll be workshops on
Have
the
the
comprehensive
meeting,
plan, and then if there is planning and zoning business that needs to
We'll do
occur,
it just like we did
we
today.
could open with the business,
Yes.
do all the comments, and then transition into the workshop.
I agree, I thought it
But
worked.
right now, we don't have it, I don't think we have any planning and zoning business.
Yeah, but Jamie, just in the future, you don't have to have two separate meetings, you can just have one
Just
agenda.
roll into, that's what I was saying, keep it all in one.
yeah.
Okay.
That's what I envisioned, was a big whole process.
Whatever. We're
That's
learning.
great, we learn. We move
But yeah, that's
forward.
great. And the best is by having the council as well as the P and Z involved. It's not like you do all, and I've had this community, P and Z does all the work and then it goes council, so we don't like that.
Well, that's that whole stakeholder thing, that's that whole
Right,
stakeholder
right. So,
thing.
no, then it's-
When everybody's
they
at the table,
That
then
actually happens
everybody's
a lot.
voice.
Yes, yeah. So,
Well, we're trying to avoid that.
right. Well, and actually in that.
My deadline is I
community,
want us to have a submittal by April and we're done.
Yeah, they actually wanted to do that, so the council went through, it was the land development regulations, page by page, and they had like 3 changes. And we spent another 6 months going through it. But it was fun, so.
Well, I think there should be a lot of trial recipes samples brought to the meeting on the 24th.
Oh, yeah, because it's Thanksgiving week.
Yeah, that does feel.
That are
It'll
leftovers.
be leftovers.
Yeah.
No, Thanksgiving's at the end of that week.
It's
Yeah, it's a late Thanksgiving's like
It's
Thursday.
usually a Thursday.
Yeah, but
It's the Thursday after my birthday, which was the 22nd.
And mine's the
So
30th.
27th is Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Yeah, it's Thanksgiving is the late, it's like the last,
Celebrate.
yeah, because the first is a Saturday.
Hmm.
That's huge.
The Thanksgiving is the 27th.
Next 2 decades of your goodness.
So,
It's
I was
wonderful.
just taking a few notes as we were going through, for Dr. Robbins,
Sir.
getting you an example of what I want to say the agenda, but it's table of contents.
I'll give you a table.
And then just a reminder, a couple of the focus areas that Janice gave us was, hey, take a look at that. I missed the first one. I know it was the 50/50 mixed use, taking a look at the industrial, and then taking a look at the annexation guidance in particular.
Right. Generally-
When you're going through it all and giving feedback, it's a little more
Excellent.
focus. in
Yeah,
those
look at
areas.
that policy with the categories of all of them, as well as look at it, and think about that, well, is this where we want that residential, is this where we want this mixed use? I mean, because we're gonna adopt a new map, and that's the only thing you don't have to do, underline the story, the good thing. But, I mean, and you could adopt the same map, there's nothing to
Which
say,
is
we just
most
change the
likely
category.
what we'll end up doing.
Yeah, and just adopting, putting a different date with different, or maybe the same discussions of policy, that's up to you. But that's what we're doing.
Just for clarification, in this language, you want us to consider deleting it?
Yes,
Okay.
can be. Everything is
Well,
can, but
Okay.
as, like I said, I did this before I started thinking about everything about it, and Rich mentioned about what with Senate Bill 180, so you might not want to delete it. If it's something you could see in the future needing.
So I have a question about annexation. So for example, so any annexation, just say Mr. Wiggins wants to have his property alone, he owns it, annexed into the city versus us saying, all these streets like Rich talks about, the continuity of it. Does that still go for referendum?
No,
If it's just one
if
owner?
it's
If it's just like-
Annexation never goes for referendum.
Oh, I thought it did.
Well, if it's an involuntary one,
Involuntary.
which nobody ever
Because I know-
The
recommends.
two paths are voluntary annexation and what's called an interlocal services boundary agreement with the county.
Because I know we thought about that with the, looking at the golf course opportunity.
Those
And that would-
rarely
that
work.
would- huh?
Those rarely work because the county fights you on it.
Right, yeah, I knew it was complex, but I was just curious, so he could go ahead and do that, and we could approve that without it going to
If,
referendum?
if you want to, I mean, that's.
If you, no, you just,
It's
when you
basically.
asked about it,
Right.
I was just curious, yeah.
Yeah, it's basically, he comes to you and says, I want to annex, and you do, there's certain advertisement and whatever requirements.
Does that include
Yeah.
planning and zoning board, or is that
No, strictly the council.
at a different level?
It's just the council. who approves it.
I mean,
Is that simple
yeah, it's
for
pretty,
annexation?
that's how you have,
Voluntary.
If
Voluntary.
everyone agrees.
Right,
If everyone agrees.
yeah.
How do
in
you-
most cities that own their own water and sewer, it's like, if you look at City of Tallahassee is the best example, you look at their annexation, their city limits are like, because,
Black in the center.
yeah, because basically they
If you want
say,
to connect to water, you have to annex it.
right, or you gotta pay twice as much, so people say, okay, I'll get it.
As far as the neighborhood is concerned, like this chunk down here along the lake shore, how would you establish that those folks are amenable to being annexed?
Your doctor.
Yeah, the
They were within
HOA
the
or-
city, but we
Take
had
it.
to sell it off in the 30s to pay our city debt.
I
That actually was
understand.
within the city
Well, I
limits.
mean, Really? You
Just don't go on
just say,
to
well,
vote.
we've talked to a bunch of folks and they agree with it, so the board can vote and make it happen.
No, the individual property owners have to ask to be annexed.
Oh, okay, that's what I was trying to get
It's
at.
a
How do you-
Yeah, to voluntary annexation, it is a voluntary, I want to be in your city.
Comes
So do you
from
need a majority of the
No, it's gotta be
landowners or?
every-
One to
everybody?
one to one to one.
Unless you do it through involuntary, that's when you need the referendum and all that.
Okay.
And
I'm
those
getting ahead of
rarely
myself,
pass.
but.
I'm
Sounds like you're planning a land
People
grab.
get voted out of office within one grant.
Yeah.
Stay there with their guns, you know?
I went through one in the
More
community.
than you would ever imagine.
It-
Yeah,
definitely does,
I
you're
went
right.
through one and we didn't work. Green Coast Street tried to do it and eventually the person said, okay, I'll come in. It was like 4 out of 5 wanted to come in and it was down on 16 and they were gonna have to go through the whole process and it was, you gotta figure out what are electors and what are non-electors. I mean, it is a long
Oh, it's a
process.
big, you gotta figure the difference in tax that they're gonna pay, all these support
Yeah,
things.
do
It's very
annexation
complicated.
report. Yeah, so anyways, but the guy ended up coming in, so we ended up doing voluntary. It was 1 out of 4 owners, but yeah.
Rich, can I just restate something I just heard, which I don't think I understood? With Senate Bill 180, if we wanted to, let's just say, simplify the comprehensive plan by moving some language that's in our current comprehensive plan into the land development regulations, I may have the wrong terminology there. Is that considered making our land development regulation more burdensome and being potentially a violation of 180?
Yes, and that's what happened at St. John's.
Okay, so that's, okay. I didn't quite understand that. I wanted to
Literally
restate it.
counted on, there was 20-something issues, that was like 80 of the issues.
Okay,
So
so,
they were
okay.
moving from the comp plan to the LDRs, and they said that's making the LDRs more
Okay,
burdensome.
so that, so then we
Right.
got, so I now understand why we would want to be more careful with that in this current.
Right, and like I said, probably 3 weeks ago when I started working on this, that wasn't in my brain as much, but the more I've been listening to seminars and webinars and discussions of what has happened in other communities.
I would say until legislative session's over this year, make as minimal changes as possible.
Now, we can keep in mind things that we would like to do in the future. That was one of the things they were talking about this webinar. Keep in mind, let's keep in mind, these are the ones, if this bill goes away, okay, now let's go
It's
back.
like
to
a
it.
parking lot of issues.
Right, and you don't, we're required to look at our comp plan and amend it so many, every 5 years?
It's at least.
At
You can
least,
do it whenever
but
you
if,
want.
right after we get this adopted and the Senate bill, they change this, Senate Bill 180,
You
we
just
can
do
come
a
back
text
in.
amendment.
Yeah.
Oh, going for things.
We don't have to wait, any length of time.
Mr. Bill, do you have a
Yes,
question?
I did, just on the relationship between the comp plan and the LDR, there's a good marriage there typically, so as you're going through this, typically you would try to make note of all the things that you would like to loosen up here, tighten up there, put the architectural standards and things that maybe will make it more amenable for future development. How are you gonna do that with that?
You do it as you go along.
What's that?
You just do it as you go along.
I mean.
No, but with the 180, if you have things, you wanna make the.
You have to do it in a way that's not more restrictive.
Right.
I mean, normally in the old comp plan, you would say, we want to have, in the comp plan, you would say, have architectural standards.
And then LDRs were defined.
Right,
Now we can't do that.
yeah,
That's what I'm saying, I guess, so you're just gonna not define them yet.
Right.
So you're not gonna open up the LDR yet until some future time.
Right.
Because that's when you really, it's gonna make it easier for people to follow the whole cookbook, because right now you're only changing the big picture.
Yeah, but even in the comp plan, if you said, oh, we're gonna have architectural standards, you'll get kickback.
No, I'm not saying that, I'm just saying that you need to do both, but it's, your kind of hands are tied for.
right. You're supposed to, within
For the
a
old-
year after you do your comp plan, update your comp plan, you're supposed to amend your LDR.
Right.
And that's why in the current comp plan, there's a lot of things that we're doing in 2011, they said, by 2012 do this, by 2012 do that.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the whole-
But
the
that
whole
step
thing-
of going to the LDR review, you're kind of not doing that because
Well,
of.
usually what happens is once you amend your comp plan, then the planning and zoning committee gets charged with going through and making the recommendations for the LDR changes.
Right.
I think with the mixed-use concept, if we decided to go that way, the architectural plans would have to play into that, without a doubt. You know, I don't see any way around doing that, because, you know, you're trying to grow, you're either trying to make it look like a house and a business together, being a mixed use versus just business or in general. So I think that it'd be really hard for people to understand how that works, or how it's gonna look. But I think in our town, we'd have to do something like that, to make it feel still small, rural, you know, not like a subdivision somewhere in the middle of somewhere else, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, you don't want,
I
to
think
me, the
that-
perfect example is drive out to Atlantic Beach, and you've got these cute little old beach bungalows, concrete block homes. And then you've got the people that bulldoze down, and they build out to the lot line, and it looks like something that came out of Miami Beach.
You know,
And
and
they just don't
that,
fit
Well,
together.
same thing with Ponte Beacher.
they did that
Yeah.
in Flagler Beach. So
Right.
Flagler Beach, I went to their museum recently, and it is so cute downtown. I mean, the whole area is all these little shops and super cute right across from the beach. And then they put a Jimmy Buffett's hotel that looks, the colors, but it's ultra modern, like super modern, doesn't fit at all. I was just shocked that they put that right there in that main area.
It's so
It-
awful. My family used to have a house in that area.
It
and
looks
was
terrible.
Like, they had no
It was a pretty
like,
hotel, but-
development. They were like, no, we're going to stay mom and pop. And
No.
like Jimmy Buffett
Yeah.
was up in the
Should
middle.
have put a
of
thatched roof on
And
it.
I don't even have enough parking
Yeah,
places for all the
exactly.
people staying there. So, I mean, the colors were right, but the rest of it was not right at all.
Yeah.
But- And it's so big, it dominates the whole space.
Yeah.
We'll never be able to have that happen. So, anything else?
I don't think so.
I think we're good.
Good.
Thanks
you.
everyone for
Go
being here. Yes,
Let
sir,
me just
Mr.
take a
Wiggins.
quick, you mentioned homeless earlier. I got a couple calls, I guess there's homeless encampments on the 50 acres we have behind Johnny's.
Yep,
We've engaged the sheriff's office, we've given them the authority to be basically our representative, to trespass them.
yep,
They should be doing that in the next few days.
okay.
And then late next week or the following week, we're gonna go in there and remove all those structures.
Okay.
Just so if anybody gets calls.
We're
No,
being
we appreciate
proactive,
you
we're
doing
working
that.
on it.
Yes.
Where will they go?
Probably across the street from,
From
my
you?
house.
Yeah.
There's a bad problem across the street from my house.
Is that the city?
Yes,
Yeah.
the funeral home right here beside Ace. Those trees.
So you
that-
need to call the sheriff's office, because we have a no loitering ordinance here.
I've called them so many times, and they say, "Oh, they say they're looking for a cat." I'm like, "They're not looking for a cat. Like, what are you doing?" Like, they don't take it seriously. I don't know what else to do, but we sit out there on our porch and just watch them every night. Just they steal from the church. They make a mess everywhere, throw out trash, steal stuff out the yard. It's a big problem.
That might be a meeting to be had. Sheriff's office.